The thing about trust is that it's like virginity. Once it's gone, you can't get it back. And sitting across from my wife Julia at Romano's, watching her twirl her engagement ring like she's contemplating throwing it at my face, I'm starting to think mine just got violated in ways that would make a prison inmate blush. "Mark, we need to talk about Eric," she says, her voice carrying that particular tone women use when they're about to drop a bomb that'll leave you picking shrapnel out of your teeth for the next decade. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. Eric, her ex-boyfriend, the guy who's been lurking around our relationship like a bad rash that keeps coming back no matter how much cream you apply. I take a sip of my wine, a nice Cabernet that's about to taste like regret, and give her my full attention. "What about Eric?" I ask, though part of me already knows I don't want to hear the answer. "He's always going to be in my life, Mark. If you can't handle that, maybe we shouldn't get married." The restaurant doesn't go quiet. The world doesn't stop spinning. But something inside my chest does this weird little flip, like my heart just realized it's been playing Russian roulette with a fully loaded gun. I'm Mark Sullivan, 40 years old, financial advisor to people who have more money than sense, and apparently engaged to a woman who just told me her ex-boyfriend comes with the marriage package, like some sort of twisted dowry. My son Ben, 14 and already more cynical than most divorce attorneys, would probably say something like, "I told you so, Dad. The kid's got radar for this stuff." "Always going to be in your life," I repeat, setting down my wine glass with the kind of careful precision you use when you're trying not to break something expensive. Care to elaborate on that? Julia shifts in her seat, her blonde hair catching the restaurant's ambient lighting in a way that would normally make me think romantic thoughts. Tonight, it just makes her look like she's posing for a mugshot. "We have history, Mark. Deep history. He understands parts of me that I don't?" I finish for her. She doesn't deny it. That's when I know this conversation isn't going to end with us planning our honeymoon. "Look, I'm being honest with you," she continues, reaching across the table like she wants to hold my hand. I pull mine back. "Most women wouldn't be this upfront. I could have married you and just dealt with Eric on the side." On the side. Like he's an appetizer. "How generous of you," I say, and I can hear the sarcasm dripping from my voice like honey from a broken jar. "So what you're telling me is that I get to marry you, but Eric gets to keep whatever parts of you he wants." "It's not like that." "Then explain it to me like I'm 5, Julia. Because right now it sounds exactly like that." She takes a deep breath, the kind you take before jumping off a cliff or telling your fiancé that your ex-boyfriend is part of the relationship package deal. "Eric and we have a connection, a spiritual connection. It doesn't mean I don't love you, but it means I can't just cut him out of my life because you're uncomfortable with it." Spiritual connection. Jesus Christ. Next she'll be telling me they share chakras or some other new age bullshit. "And what does Eric think about this arrangement?" I ask. "He's supportive of us getting married," she says, like that's supposed to make me feel better. "He wants me to be happy." How noble of him. Don't be crude, Mark. Crude. I'm being crude. Not the woman who just told me her ex-boyfriend gets permanent visitation rights to our marriage. Me. I signal the waiter for the check. This conversation is over, and so is our engagement, though Julia doesn't know it yet. I've got 40 years of experience reading people. It's what makes me good at my job, and every instinct I have is screaming that there's more to this story than spiritual connections and deep history. "Where are you going?" Julia asks as I stand up. "Home," I say, "to think about what you just told me." "Mark, please, can't we just—" "What, Julia? Can't we just pretend you didn't tell me that marrying you means sharing you with your ex? Can't we just ignore the fact that you think this is a reasonable thing to ask?" Her eyes fill with tears, but I'm past the point where that works on me. Tears are just water with salt in them, and I'm not thirsty. "I love you," she says. I know, I reply, but apparently not enough to choose me over him. I drop $60 on the table, enough to cover dinner and tip, and walk out of Romano's, leaving my fiancée sitting there with her spiritual connection to explain to the waiter why her date just bailed. The drive home gives me time to think, which is dangerous because thinking leads to planning, and planning leads to action. By the time I pull into my driveway, I've made 3 decisions. First, the wedding is off. Second, I'm done with Julia's games. Third, I'm going to find out exactly what kind of spiritual connection she has with Eric. Ben's in the living room playing video games when I walk in, his fingers moving across the controller like he's conducting a symphony of digital violence. "How'd dinner go?" he asks without looking away from the screen. "Your future stepmother just informed me that her ex-boyfriend is a permanent fixture in our relationship." Now he pauses the game and looks at me. "Seriously?" "Absolutely serious." "Dude, that's messed up." "Language," I say automatically, though my heart isn't in it. "Sorry, that's messed up. What are you going to do?" "Good question. What am I going to do?" "First, I'm calling off the wedding. Then I'm going to figure out what's really going on between your almost stepmother and her spiritual advisor." Ben grins, and for a moment he looks exactly like I did at his age, all mischief and sharp edges. "Need help?" "Maybe. But first I need to make some phone calls." The first call is to the wedding venue. Canceling 3 weeks before the ceremony is going to cost me, but not as much as marrying someone who comes with a boyfriend subscription service. The second call is to my best friend Paul, who works in IT and has a moral flexibility that comes in handy during situations like this. "Paul, it's Mark. I need a favor." "What kind of favor?" "The kind that might require your particular skill set and a complete lack of ethics." I'm listening. I explain the situation while pacing around my kitchen, and by the time I'm done, Paul is laughing so hard I'm worried he might choke. "Let me get this straight," he says. "Julia told you that her ex-boyfriend is part of the marriage package, and you want me to help you figure out what's really going on?" That's the general idea. "Mark, buddy, I love you like a brother, but you don't need my help to figure this out. She's sleeping with him. I need proof." "Why?" "You're already calling off the wedding." "Because I want to know how long this has been going on, and because I want to know if our entire relationship has been a lie." Paul sighs, the sound of a man who's about to do something he knows he shouldn't. "Fine, but we do this legally. I'm not hacking anyone's phone or breaking any laws." "Wouldn't dream of it." "Bullshit. But I'll help anyway." "What do you need?" "What I need is information. What I need is to understand how I spent 2 years of my life with someone who was playing house with me while keeping her real relationship on the side. What I need is revenge, but I'm not ready to admit that yet, even to myself. I need to know their patterns, where they go, when they meet, how long this has been going on. Consider it done. But Mark? Yeah? When this is over, you're buying me a very expensive bottle of whiskey. Deal. I hang up and look at my phone, which has been buzzing with texts from Julia for the past hour. I don't read them. Instead, I pour myself 3 fingers of bourbon and sit in my study, staring at the engagement photos on my desk. Julia looks radiant in them, like a woman in love. I look happy, like a man who thought he knew what he was getting into. Funny how pictures can lie just as well as people. The next morning brings clarity and a hangover, in that order. I wake up on my study couch with a crick in my neck and a determination that feels like steel in my spine. Julia has called 17 times and sent 23 texts. I delete them all without reading them. Ben finds me making coffee in the kitchen, still wearing yesterday's clothes and probably looking like I got hit by a truck carrying broken dreams. "You look like hell," he says, which is why I love this kid. No filter, no bullshit. "Feel worse. Want pancakes? Are you going to burn them like last time?" "Probably." "Then yes. We eat burned pancakes and drink coffee that could strip paint, And I explain to my son why his almost stepmother is no longer going to be part of our lives. He takes it better than I expected, which tells me he never liked Julia as much as he pretended to. So what now? He asks. Now I figure out how to get our lives back to normal. And the revenge part? Smart kid. Too smart. What makes you think there's going to be a revenge part? Because you're my dad, and you don't let people walk all over you. Plus, you have that look. What look? The same look you had when Mr. Peterson tried to charge us for fixing his fence after his tree fell on our car. Mr. Peterson ended up paying for the car repairs and replacing our fence after I was done with him. Ben remembers these things. There might be some revenge, I admit. Cool. Can I help? We'll see. My phone rings. It's Paul. I've got news, he says. And you're not going to like it. Hit me. Julia and Eric have been meeting at the Marriott downtown every Tuesday and Thursday for the past 6 months. They're registered under his name, room 412. Always the same room. 6 months. We got engaged 4 months ago. Do the math. There's more, Paul continues. I did some digging into Eric's background. Guy's got a pattern. He's done this before. Stayed involved with ex-girlfriends while they dated other men. Apparently it's his thing. His thing. Yeah, like a hobby but more messed up. I close my eyes and count to 10. Then I count to 20. Math has always been soothing. Mark? You still there? I'm here. What else? Julia's been talking to her friends about it. Lana knows, Carmen knows. Hell, half her social circle knows. They think it's romantic. Romantic. They think it's romantic that my fiancée has been sleeping with her ex-boyfriend twice a week while planning our wedding. These are the same women who'll be at Julia's boutique right now, probably discussing the situation over overpriced coffee and organic pastries. Paul, I need you to do me one more favor. Name it. Julia's having a post-wedding brunch tomorrow. She invited everyone thinking we'll reconcile. I want you to help me make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of woman they're supporting. What did you have in mind? I tell him. By the time I'm done, Paul is laughing again. Mark, that's diabolical. That's the point. I love it. But are you sure you want to go nuclear? Paul, she's been lying to me for 6 months. She's been sleeping with another man while planning our wedding. She told me he's always going to be in her life, like that's something I should just accept. Nuclear isn't strong enough. Fair point. I'll set it up. Thanks, Paul, I owe you. Yeah, you do. And I'm thinking single malt scotch, not bourbon. The brunch is at Julia's boutique, which she's decorated with flowers and hope. 25 people show up, including Julia's mother, her inner circle of enablers, and several mutual friends who think they're about to witness a reconciliation. Julia looks beautiful in a white sundress that probably cost more than my car payment, and for a moment I almost feel bad about what I'm about to do, almost. Mark, she says when I walk in, rushing over like I'm a soldier returning from war. I'm so glad you came. I knew you'd realize we could work this out. We need to talk, I say, loud enough for everyone to hear. The room goes quiet. This is the moment they've all been waiting for. The grand gesture, the romantic reconciliation, the happy ending. Julia's mother actually clasps her hands together like she's watching a Hallmark movie. Of course, Julia says, taking my hand. Everyone, Mark and I just need a moment to... No, I interrupt. I think everyone should hear this, since they all apparently know about Eric. Julia's face goes white. Lana drops her mimosa. Carmen starts looking around like she's planning escape routes. Mark, maybe we should... Should what, Julia? Should go somewhere private so you can lie to me some more? Should pretend that half the people in this room don't know you've been sleeping with your ex-boyfriend while we planned our wedding? Julia's mother makes a sound like a wounded bird. Someone's phone buzzes. Then another. Then another. Paul's timing is perfect. The photos I asked him to airdrop to everyone's phone are starting to come through. Screenshots of text messages between Julia and Eric that I found on her laptop, pictures of them entering and leaving the Marriott, Hotel receipts with Eric's name and Julia's signature. "What is this?" Lana asks, staring at her phone. "That," I say, "is your friend Julia's spiritual connection with Eric. Turns out it's more physical than spiritual." Chaos. Pure, beautiful chaos. Julia's trying to explain, her mother's hyperventilating, Lana's scrolling through the evidence like she's reading the morning news, and Carmen's backing toward the door like I might be contagious. "Mark, please," Julia says, tears streaming down her face. "Let me explain." "Explain what? That you've been lying to me for 6 months? That you've been meeting Eric at a hotel twice a week while we planned our future? That you told me he'd always be in your life, like I should just accept sharing you with him? It's not what it looks like." I laugh, and it's not a nice sound. "Julia, it looks like you've been cheating on me with your ex-boyfriend while planning our wedding. What else could it possibly look like?" She doesn't have an answer for that. Neither does anyone else in the room. "For those of you who are just catching up," I announced to the crowd, "Julia informed me 2 days ago that her ex-boyfriend Eric would always be in her life, and that if I couldn't handle that, we shouldn't get married. What she didn't mention was that he's been in her life, and apparently other places, for the past 6 months. Julia's mother finally finds her voice. "Julia Marie, what is he talking about?" "Mom, I can explain." "With what? More lies?" I pull out my phone and show everyone the text message Julia sent me this morning. "Mark, please forgive me. Eric means nothing to me. You're the one I want to marry." "Sent this morning," I continue, "after I found out about the hotel meetings, after I found out about the lies, after I found out that our entire relationship has been a joke." I look around the room at all these people who thought they were coming to a reconciliation brunch, and instead got front-row seats to the destruction of Julia's reputation. "The wedding is off," I announce. "Julia can have Eric. Hell, she's been having him all along. I'm just making it official." I head for the door, then turn back. "Oh, and Julia? Next time you want to have a spiritual connection with someone, maybe don't leave the hotel receipts on your laptop." I walk out of the boutique, leaving behind 25 shocked faces and 1 destroyed woman. It feels better than I expected, but I'm not done yet. Eric Dorsey works in commercial real estate, drives a vintage Mustang that he loves more than most people love their children, and has an ego the size of Texas. He also has a habit of parking in the same spot in the downtown garage every day, which makes what I'm about to do much easier. I find his car on level 3, pristine and gleaming like it just rolled off a showroom floor. It's beautiful, really. Classic lines, perfect paint job, leather interior that probably cost more than most people make in a month. It's going to look even better covered in glitter. I've brought supplies, industrial strength glue, 5 pounds of craft glitter in assorted colors, and a package of frozen fish that's been sitting in my trunk for 3 days. The smell alone could knock a buzzard off a garbage truck. The glue goes on first, squeezed through the slightly open windows onto the seats, dashboard, and steering wheel. Then comes the glitter, silver, gold, red, blue, green, until the interior looks like a unicorn exploded. The fish go under the seats, where they'll continue to ripen in the summer heat. For the finishing touch, I superglue the door handles and leave a note under the windshield wiper. From the ex-husband, who doesn't care anymore. It's not vandalism, technically. Nothing's broken, nothing's damaged permanently. It's just artistic expression. I'm admiring my handiwork when my phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. "You think you're clever, Sullivan? Back off, or you'll regret it." Eric, the spiritual advisor himself. I text back, "Meet me at Murphy's bar tonight at 8. We need to talk." His response is immediate. "I'll be there." Murphy's bar is the kind of place where nobody asks questions and everyone minds their own business. It's also the kind of place where conversations can get heated without anyone calling the cops. Eric's already there when I arrive, sitting in a corner booth and nursing a beer like it contains the secrets of the universe. He looks exactly like I expected, tall, handsome in a generic way, with the kind of smile that probably works on women who don't know any better. He's wearing a suit that costs more than my mortgage payment and a watch that could feed a small country. "Mark Sullivan," he says, as I slide into the booth across from him. "The cuckolded fiancé." "Eric Dorsey," I reply. "The spiritual advisor." He laughs, but there's no humor in it. "Julia told you about that, did she? I like that phrase. Makes it sound mystical instead of what it really is." "Which is?" "Me sleeping with your girlfriend while you planned your wedding." At least he's honest. I'll give him that. "How long?" I ask. "How long what?" "How long have you been sleeping with my girlfriend?" Eric takes a sip of his beer, considering his answer like he's a witness in court. "Since about a month after you proposed. She called me crying about how she wasn't sure she was making the right decision. I comforted her. One thing led to another. And you've been comforting her twice a week ever since. She's a very needy woman, Mark. Requires a lot of attention." I want to hit him. The urge is so strong I can taste it, metallic and sharp on my tongue. But hitting him would be giving him what he wants. A reason to play the victim. A way to make this about my anger instead of his actions. "So what's the plan now?" I ask instead. "Julia's reputation is destroyed. Everyone knows what you two have been doing, and the wedding's off. What's your next move?" Eric shrugs like we're discussing the weather. "Find someone new, I guess. Julia was fun, but she's too complicated. All that guilt and crying. It gets old." "Just like that?" "Just like that. You want her back? She's all yours. Though I should warn you, she's developed some interesting habits over the past few months." That's when I hit him, not hard enough to break anything, but hard enough to knock him sideways in the booth and send his beer flying. Hard enough to get his attention and make sure he knows I'm not just some cuckolded fiancé he can dismiss. "What the hell?" "Listen to me very carefully, Eric," I say, leaning across the table so we're face to face. "You're going to stay away from Julia. You're going to stay away from me. You're going to pretend we never existed. Because if you don't, if you so much as send her a text message or drive past her boutique, I'm going to make what happened to your car look like a love letter." Eric touches his jaw where I hit him, and I can see him calculating whether he wants to escalate this or walk away. "You threatening me, Sullivan?" "I'm promising you. Stay away from my family or I'll destroy you." "Your family? Last I checked, Julia wasn't your family anymore. My son knows about you. My son knows what you did to his almost stepmother and how it affected me. You really want a 14-year-old kid thinking you're a threat to his father?" Eric's face goes pale. He might be willing to mess with me, but the idea of a pissed-off teenager with unlimited internet access and no adult supervision clearly scares him. "Fine," he says. "I'll stay away. But you need to understand something, Mark. Julia came to me. She pursued me. Whatever happened between us, she wanted it." "I believe you," I say, and I mean it, which is why I'm done with her too. I leave Eric sitting in the booth, probably wondering if his jaw is broken and definitely wondering if I'm crazy enough to follow through on my threats. The answer to both questions is yes, but he doesn't need to know that. The next few days pass in a blur of canceled wedding plans, returned gifts, and awkward conversations with mutual friends who don't know which side to choose. Julia calls constantly, but I don't answer. She shows up at my house twice, but I don't open the door. She sends flowers, letters, and even a singing telegram, but I throw them all away without looking. It's over, and I want her to know it. But Julia's not the type of woman who accepts defeat gracefully. She's the type who doubles down, who fights dirty, who burns bridges just to watch the flames. Which is why I'm not surprised when she decides to target the one thing she knows will get my attention. Ben. It starts small. Julia shows up at Ben's school, claiming she needs to talk to him about the situation. The school calls me, and I tell them in no uncertain terms that Julia is not to have contact with my son. Then she starts driving past our house, slowing down when Ben's outside, waving like they're old friends. "Dad, this is getting weird," Ben says after the third drive-by. "I know. I'm handling it." "How?" Good question. How do you handle a woman who's desperate enough to involve a kid in her drama? How do you make someone understand that it's over when they refuse to accept reality? You escalate. The charity gala is an annual event where the city's elite gather to throw money at worthy causes and congratulate themselves on their generosity. Julia will be there, along with Eric and most of the people who witnessed the boutique disaster. It's the perfect venue for the next phase of my plan. Paul meets me in the hotel parking lot an hour before the event starts, carrying a laptop bag and wearing the kind of grin that means he's about to do something that could get us both arrested. "You sure about this?" he asks. "Positive. How hard was it to hack into the presentation system?" "I didn't hack anything," Paul says, looking offended. "I simply volunteered to help with the audio-visual setup and made sure our little slideshow got added to the rotation. And they won't be able to stop it once it starts? Not without shutting down the entire system, which they could do, but it would take at least 5 minutes, and by then everyone will have seen what they need to see. The slideshow is a masterpiece of public humiliation. Photos of Julia and Eric at the hotel, time-stamped and dated, screenshots of their text messages, including some that would make a sailor blush, hotel receipts, credit card statements, and a timeline showing exactly how long the affair went on. "This is going to destroy her," Paul says. "She destroyed herself. I'm just making sure everyone knows about it." The gala is in full swing when we arrive. Julia's holding court near the silent auction, wearing a red dress that probably cost more than my car and laughing like she doesn't have a care in the world. Eric's across the room, schmoozing with potential clients and pretending he's not worried about what I might do next. They're both about to find out. The slideshow starts during dinner, right after the salad course and before the main event. The lights dim, and the giant screen at the front of the ballroom lights up with what's supposed to be a presentation about the charity's accomplishments over the past year. Instead, it shows Julia and Eric walking into the Marriott, her hand on his ass, both of them laughing like they're sharing the world's funniest joke. The room goes silent. The next slide is a text message from Julia to Eric. "Mark's working late again. Room 412 in 20 minutes? Then another. "I can't wait to marry him. The financial security will be amazing, and you and I can keep doing what we're doing." The gasps start around slide 5. By slide 10, people are pulling out their phones to record the screen. By slide 15, Julia's crying and Eric's heading for the exit. But the slideshow isn't done yet. The final slides show Julia's bank statements, credit card bills, and receipts that paint a picture of a woman living beyond her means, using her engagement to Mark as collateral for loans, and planning to use the marriage as a way to fund her failing boutique. The last slide is a simple message. Some people marry for love. Others marry for money. Choose your friends wisely. The lights come up, and 500 pairs of eyes turn to look at Julia, who's sitting at her table like a deer caught in headlights. Eric's nowhere to be seen, probably already in his car, heading for another state. Julia stands up, her face red with humiliation and rage, and looks directly at me. "You bastard!" she screams across the ballroom. "You bastard!" "Language, Julia," I say loud enough for everyone to hear. "There are children present." She starts toward me, but her friends, or former friends, hold her back. The damage is done, and everyone knows it. Julia's reputation, her business, her social standing, all of it destroyed in the span of 10 minutes. I finish my dinner and leave, confident that I'll never see Julia or Eric again. But I'm wrong. 3 days later, I'm working in my study when I hear glass breaking downstairs. Ben's at school, so I'm alone in the house, which means whoever just broke my window is either very stupid or very desperate. I grab the baseball bat I keep by my desk and head downstairs, already knowing who I'm going to find. Eric's in my living room, soaking wet from the rain outside and looking like a man who's lost everything. Which, come to think of it, he has. The slideshow destroyed his business relationships, his reputation, and probably his bank account. "We need to talk," he says when he sees me. "No, we don't. We need you to get out of my house. You destroyed my life. You destroyed your own life. I just made sure everyone knew about it." Eric laughs, but it's the sound of a man on the edge of a complete breakdown. "You think you're so smart, don't you? You think you won?" "I know I won. Julia's pregnant." The words hit me like a physical blow. Pregnant. Julia's pregnant. "Congratulations," I managed to say. "I hope you'll be very happy together." "It's not mine." The world tilts sideways, not his. Which means, "It's yours, Mark. She's carrying your baby, and you destroyed her life." I set down the bat and sit heavily on my couch, trying to process this information. Julia's pregnant with my child, and I just spent the past week systematically destroying her reputation and her livelihood. "When?" I ask. "She found out yesterday. She's about 6 weeks along." 6 weeks. Right around the time she told me about Eric always being in her life. Right around the time I found out about the affair. "She wants to talk to you," Eric continues. "She's outside in my car." I look out the window and see Eric's Mustang, now cleaned of glitter but probably still smelling like rotten fish, parked in my driveway. Julia's in the passenger seat, and even from a distance I can see that she's been crying. "Why are you here, Eric? Why are you helping her?" "Because I'm not a complete asshole, despite what you think, and because she doesn't deserve what you did to her. She cheated on me." "Yeah, she did. And that was wrong. But you didn't just break up with her, Mark. You destroyed her. Her business is failing. Her friends won't talk to her. Her mother won't speak to her. You took everything." He's right, and I know it. I didn't just end the relationship. I went nuclear. I made sure Julia paid for her betrayal in the most public, humiliating way possible. And now she's pregnant with my child. "What does she want?" I ask. "To explain. To apologize. To figure out how to move forward." "And what do you want?" Eric looks around my living room, taking in the family photos, the comfortable furniture, the evidence of a life lived by someone who has his shit together. "I want to disappear," he says. "I want to move to another city, change my name, and pretend the past 6 months never happened." "Then do it." "I will. But first you need to talk to Julia." "I don't want to talk to Julia. I want her to disappear along with Eric, to take their drama and their complications and their spiritual connections and leave me alone with my son and my simple, uncomplicated life. But she's pregnant. With my child." 5 minutes, I say. She gets 5 minutes. Eric nods and goes outside. A few moments later, Julia walks into my house looking smaller and more fragile than I've ever seen her. Her hair is limp, her makeup is smeared, and she's wearing jeans and a sweater instead of her usual designer clothes. "Mark," she says, and her voice is barely above a whisper. 5 minutes. She nods and sits on the edge of my couch like she's afraid I might throw her out if she gets too comfortable. "I'm sorry," she begins. "I know that doesn't fix anything, but I need you to know that I'm sorry." "For which part? The cheating, the lying, or the part where you told me Eric would always be in your life?" "All of it. Everything. I made terrible choices, and I hurt you, and I'm sorry." "Why, Julia? Why did you do it?" She's quiet for a long moment, staring at her hands like they might contain the answers to life's mysteries. "Because I was scared," she finally says. "Scared of being married, scared of commitment, scared of losing myself in someone else's life. Eric was familiar, safe, He didn't expect anything from me except what we'd always had. So you kept him around as insurance, I guess? Yes. And the pregnancy? I found out yesterday. I know the timing is terrible, and I know you probably think I'm lying, but it's yours, Mark. I haven't been with Eric in over a week, not since everything came out. I believe her, which surprises me. After everything that's happened, after all the lies and betrayal, I still believe her about this. What do you want from me? I ask. I don't know. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, and I know I don't deserve another chance. But this baby, our baby, deserves better than parents who hate each other. She's right about that too. Whatever I think of Julia, whatever she's done to me, the child she's carrying is innocent. The child deserves parents who can at least be civil to each other. I need time to think, I say. I understand. And I need you to understand something, Julia. What we had is over, even with the baby. Even if we figure out how to co-parent, what we had is done. I'll never trust you again. Tears start rolling down her cheeks, but she nods. I know. And Eric is out of my life, for good. I told him today that whatever we had is over, and I meant it. Good. Julia stands up, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. I should go. But Mark, thank you for listening. And I really am sorry. She heads for the door, then turns back. For what it's worth, I did love you. I know I had a terrible way of showing it, but I did. After she leaves, I sit in my study for a long time, staring out the window and trying to figure out how my life got so complicated. This morning, I was a single man, whose biggest problem was explaining to his son why his almost stepmother was no longer part of their lives. Tonight, I'm going to be a father again, tied forever to a woman who betrayed me in the most fundamental way possible. Ben finds me there when he gets home from school, still staring out the window like it might reveal the secrets of the universe. Dad, you okay? Sit down, son. We need to talk. I explain about Julia's visit, about the pregnancy, about the fact that our lives are about to get complicated in ways we never expected. Ben listens without interrupting, his face serious in a way that makes him look older than his 14 years. So Julia's having your baby, he says when I'm done. Yes. And you're going to help raise it. Yes. But you're not getting back together with her. Definitely not. Ben nods, processing this information with the kind of mature consideration that makes me proud and sad at the same time. No kid should have to deal with this kind of adult drama. Are you okay with this? I ask. Are you? I don't know yet. But I know I'm going to do the right thing, whatever that turns out to be. Then I'm okay with it too. We order pizza and watch a movie, pretending that our lives haven't just become infinitely more complicated. But later that night, after Ben's gone to bed, I sit in my study and think about the future. I think about Julia, broken and humiliated, carrying my child. I think about Eric, probably already planning his escape to another city. I think about the people at the charity gala, the looks on their faces when they realized what they were seeing. I think about revenge, and whether I went too far. But mostly, I think about the child Julia's carrying, and what kind of father I want to be this time around. The next few months pass in a strange sort of truce. Julia and I meet once a week to discuss the pregnancy, the baby's needs, and how we're going to handle co-parenting. She's moved in with her mother after losing her apartment. Turns out the boutique was in worse financial shape than anyone knew, and she's working part-time at a department store to make ends meet. Eric disappeared as promised. Someone said he moved to Denver, someone else heard Seattle. I don't care as long as he stays gone. Julia's pregnancy progresses normally, and slowly, carefully, we begin to build something that isn't quite friendship, but isn't outright hostility either. We'll never be what we were. Too much has happened for that. But we're learning to be civil for the baby's sake. Ben handles it all with the kind of grace that makes me think I might actually be doing something right as a father. He's excited about having a baby brother or sister, and he's even started talking to Julia again, though their conversations are polite rather than warm. The baby arrives on a snowy Tuesday in February, 6 pounds and 3 ounces of perfection with Julia's eyes, and what looks like it might be my stubborn chin. We name her Emma, and when I hold her for the first time, I understand that everything that happened, the betrayal, the revenge, the humiliation, was worth it if it led to this moment. Julia and I will never be together again. Too much trust has been broken, too many words have been said, too much damage has been done. But we're both Emma's parents, and we're both committed to doing right by her. As for Eric, I heard through the grapevine that he tried his spiritual advisor routine with a woman in Denver and ended up getting punched in the face by her husband. Some people never learn, but that's his story. This is mine. I'm Mark Sullivan, 41 years old, father of 2, and a man who learned that sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even. It's moving on and building something better than what you lost. Emma's sleeping in my arms as I write this, her tiny fingers wrapped around mine, and I can honestly say that I wouldn't change a thing about how we got here. Even the pain, even the betrayal, even the public humiliation, it all led to her, and she's perfect.